I've never been a guy who liked to look over my shoulder. Well, I was forced to go back and look over my shoulder much further and I was uncomfortable doing it. All of a sudden, I started to think of things in life as longer term investments of, oh, this is a sacrifice I can make now, but it can pay me back. Not tomorrow, not next year, maybe not even this lifetime. And I only started to see that far the further I went back to understand my own past.
Okay, here comes part 2 on the Matthew McConaughey. If you haven't seen the first part, it's okay. You can start right here. It works fine. But I love this interview. We went on for an hour and a half, and he said he could have gone for another hour. And it reminded me a little bit of, when you're in college and you get together with some people you really like, and it's late at night, and you're talking about God and the universe and current events and all that crap. And it's just kind of fun and exciting and humorous, and you scratch your head a lot. So he's that kind of guy, and I'm that kind of guy. So here's Matthew McConaughey, part 2. I'm James Patterson, and I like to write longhand, pencil to paper, but this next sponsor seriously has me considering whether I should change that, because whether you're writing your first book or, like me, your more than first book, the same problems always show up. You're almost done with your outline, thinking you've got a bestseller on your hands. Then it hits you, that amazing scene you wrote months ago, it completely breaks your plot. Oh, no. That's where Novelium comes in. Built by writers for writers. It's like having a story editor sitting beside you, quietly catching the stuff you'd miss, stuff like pacing issues, continuity errors, big problem, even character mix-ups. It works with however you like to write. You can write in Novelium's distraction-free editor or upload your draft from Word or Google Docs. As you write, it automatically builds a character dashboard, a word codex, and a timeline that flags inconsistency, all without changing your words or your voice. And unlike those AI writing tools, Novelium doesn't write for you or use your data. It just keeps you organized, private, and in control, which I like. So what are you waiting for? Stop the story headaches and actually go finish your book. Try Novelium today and get your first month free at novelium.so with code Patterson. That's NOVELIUM.SO, code Patterson. Yahoo. It'll make your life easier. That's a good thing. Just getting back to the poetry thing, just a hair. I'm not a big poetry fan, but Louise Gluck is somebody that I read a lot, and I don't understand a lot of what she says, but I understand a lot of it. And Billy Collins is another guy who I like a lot, and I do understand his. Have you read Billy Collins at all?
No, sir.
Pick up or consider a book. Was Nine Horses? He's
Billy Collins, 9 Horses.
And here, once again, the flow of his language. It's very simple. He was poet laureate for the country for a while, whatever the hell that means. There was a language that you put in here, and it was one of the things I don't know what he's talking about, but it's kind of interesting. We can only project into our future as far as we can remember into our past. What is that? This is what I wish Robert Lowe, I could ask him shit like this, and he'd say, "Oh,
yeah.
Hey, what that means."
So this is based on a theory that I've been testing out and trying to a pattern in life of talking about the real self and the impression of self, the real self and the image reflected of self. The part of me going through what I got out of writing a book, Greenlights, which I went back to my childhood and wrote, is I've never been a guy who liked to look over my shoulder. I like it passed. I did it for good or for worse. I'm moving forward. Don't add it up. It's only the next. Well, I was forced to go back and look over my shoulder much further and I was uncomfortable doing it until I got into it and started to find my own sense of humor and got over things that I was shameful about or felt guilty about or embarrassed about.
Okay.
And the further back that I started to go back into my past, all of a sudden it reached a level, so I'll call it 40 years, and I'm 56 now, to where all of a sudden I started understanding my eulogy better. I started to understand, I started to think of things in life as longer term investments of, oh, this is a sacrifice I can make now, but it can pay me back not tomorrow, not next year, maybe not even this lifetime, but it's going to boomerang back and be a reward for me later in this life, much later in this life, or maybe my kids or 2 generations away. I started to think even beyond my own life. And I only started to see that far or consider that far, that kind of projection, the further I went back to understand my own past. And I only went back into my own lifetime. And I went back, I'm going back to conception, actually, not birth. Not that I remember that I was conceived.
Yeah, I think for some people, I did 1 year of therapy, and not to compare this to therapy, but that does sometimes force you to look back. Why did this happen? I was very lucky. The guy that I talked to was great and perfect for me, and also capable of saying, okay, you feel you need to leave, and that's okay after a year. Not saying like, oh, no, you need another 10 years.
Yeah.
Which was good. And we actually maintained a friendship, and we would go out to lunch once a week after that.
Oh, nice.
And I would pay half the time. He would pay. No, he made me pay all the time. Here, I mentioned early on about the hopeful skeptic and then man of faith for you. Yeah. That's an area that's interesting to me, having brought up Catholic and sort of, I don't consider myself a man of faith now, but I'm curious about it and interested in it. One of the things you said, which I liked and found interesting, is be available to see myself as God sees me. Mm-hmm. Which is, how does that, if you feel like it, just elaborate a little.
Sure. So that's that, whether someone, if you're not going to call it capital G-O-D, some might call it a transcendental self, better self, future self, true self, as we covered a minute ago, the greatest creation of self we could be. That's close. That's the pursuit that is closer to as God sees us. In my verbiage, as God sees me. It starts off with the young thing that you share with kids, and we have in our household. And I heard it from my mother and from people around when I was growing up as a young kid, when you'd be down on yourself and low confidence and low self-esteem and thinking you weren't worth anything, you weren't pretty, you weren't cute, you weren't smart, these things. Hey, God don't make no junk. You don't have the arrogance to think that about yourself. It's almost a way of going, like, even times when we feel guilty sometimes, which is a very arrogant notion. I think we need a certain amount of guilt to have a little bit of a compass, but sometimes we can get almost, we can start to lather in the guilt and love it. And it's a very arrogant thing to do.
It's self-important. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
Then who are we to think we're the great dean, judge, and jury? So it's a bit of, as God sees us, there's some grace in that, but there's also quite a bit of belief and power in that as well. There's humility in that, as well as great confidence. So it's a superior self, and it's not saying it is saying to be more God-like. It's not saying to become God, though, which I don't believe.
That to me is too crazy for me anyway. You also say faith is the answer. In the end, faith is the answer. What does that mean to you?
Well, I mean, in this pursuit, I don't think we get there. In this pursuit, having faith and belief is really what I'm selling through the book. And I think it's subtext of the entire book is belief in self, for me, in God, for other religious people, in God. Belief in the future, belief in your kids, understanding, believing more in your past, no matter how ugly it may have been, believing, admitting that. Sometimes believing is just admitting, which is a place we don't like to go. It's not the math that adds up, I think, to the wins in life. The belief is very different than hope. Hope is an idea. I hope that'll happen. And if it happens, we may have had something to do with it. We may not. We may have just got lucky, fortunate, what have you. But belief, we got belief in something. It's the difference between confidence and arrogance. We got confidence, belief in something. We see the map. We see the construction, the deeds, the dealing we have to do to get to the dream when we have belief. If you just got hope, it doesn't really come with the map. And we may get lucky and get it, but we can't quite add up the science of what we had to do with getting it. Belief, I believe, has an understanding, a map, and when we achieve it, we can go. I see how this was engineered. I see my part in this, and I think that's vastly important. To understand that even as a believer, that hope can rely on fate. Belief relies on more than fate. Belief. If you're a person of faith and you have belief, I think you understand that while God may be the prime mover, He damn sure wants your hands on the wheel, because you got free will and responsibility. And we're not just going to go, Inshallah, if God wills it, it'll happen. No, hang on. Hang on. We got a little sweat equity in this. It's up to us. We are responsible for a lot of it. Not all of it, but a lot of it. And they go part and parcel, I believe.
I see you down in the field with Texas a bit, which is cool. I mentioned the Vandy, Texas thing, which was heartbreaking. Because remember, this is a team that hasn't had a team in the top 10 or since 1947. And that's a long time. You talk about faith. Okay, there's faith. But one of the interesting things about that game was at the end, we actually had a chance there. But the difference between these two quarterbacks, really fascinating. Diego Pavia and Arch Manning could not be more different. Could not be more different. Really, what's your take on those quarterbacks?
Well, I want to hear is because Pavia, look, we win. Arch has a good day. Arch was coming out of a rough beginning of the season, so all the headlines were about Arch's day. But if you look back at Pavia's day, I think he had a good day.
After the first half,
35, he had a good day.
But he just wouldn't give up. That's the great thing about him. But they couldn't be more different in terms of two quarterback styles. You got this little guy who's pesky and whatever and won't give up, and then you got Arch who looks like the perfect quarterback.
Yeah, well, look what Pavia's got going and what Coach Lee's got going is something unique. I mean, he looked around, you look and you go, hey, we're not going to get the 5 stars, although he did get the flip from Georgia just the other day. QB to your school, sir.
Yeah, I saw that. Yep.
And he looked around.
Nashville kid.
Yeah, well, now all of a sudden you're a spot on the map.
Yeah.
Vanderbilt was never a spot on the map.
Well, we'll see, because remember the trick with the thing I love about Lee is like the way he handled this thing. We're not victims. That was great. Well, the trick with him is going to be he's only won with one quarterback. One of the amazing things about Mississippi this year is they won with the second string quarterback who wound up being great, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Or Indiana with 2 years in a row with two different quarterbacks. That's pretty amazing too.
Well, you gotta go. There's something to the secret sauce coming from the top down. Those head coaches, Cignetti and Lee. Something is talking about a team believing, because on paper the math does not add up. There's no way that if you're getting 3 stars and 2 stars and you're turning them into that. I find it's one of my favorite things about college sports. The young mind. There is so much opportunity psychologically for improvement that is still out there to grasp. So when you see a team come in like an Indiana or a Vanderbilt and go, wow. And now Vandy's doing it consistently. Now it's Indiana starting to do it consistently. You go, oh, this was not a flash in the pan. They didn't have it wasn't just the right year where they got the ball bounced their way and they took advantage of it. No, these teams Vandy has been a team now for a couple of years, like formidable. Yeah,
same
more
quarterback.
Than formidable.
I'm holding this, same quarterback though. But the sports program they got a very good watch the basketball team this year. They could be a top 10 team. They're very good. Right. And their women's basketball team's good too. So they're starting to, having gone through so much pain for so many decades.
Yeah. Let me ask you this: where will they be able to get the money? Because in today's sport, that's just where. Yeah. This is. But you've got Nashville. That's like similar to what Austin has. You want to come to Austin, or do you want to go to? If you're just looking for Austin or that little town, over there. No, Austin's a big selling point.
Nashville's a pretty good location, so they have that working for them. Yeah, I do think they have a lot of money because a lot of people who went there have done well. They don't have Texas money, but they have good money.
Have they come to you for a little Can you help back us up?
You know what? Our thing, we give away a lot, Sue and I. It's all education oriented, almost all. We did do one thing with Wisconsin with their basketball team this year, but for the most part, it's just all. One of the areas we have now almost 500 scholarships. I don't want pats on the back for this shit. It's all my grandmother and my mother who said you got to give shit away. But we have about 500 scholarships at historically black universities and colleges, and the reason is we dipped our toe in. And then we saw some of the statistics. 60% of the black doctors in this country start at historically black universities and colleges. That says great things about those schools, and it says bad things about all the rest of the colleges in this country.
Right.
50% of the black lawyers, and I don't blame them for this, but 50% of the black lawyers. By the way, speaking of lawyers, I think both our mothers thought we would be lawyers. And you did actually play a couple of lawyers in the movies, but, so we fooled them in terms of the, doing it.
Hey, good for us.
Absolutely. I thought about it briefly. I said, no, that wouldn't be good. That wouldn't be good for me. You got your Just Keep Living Foundation. So that's
our primary give back. Got up to, 50 schools, got a few in Nashville, actually doing really well. Jim Toth, my good friend and ex-agent, has helped run point on those.
It seems to be consistent with your view of life, though, which I think is great. I mean, we're the foundation where there's some passion attached to it.
And prevention before the cure, incentive-based. And that's why we went with kiddos. And there's so many places to give. And I'm supposing it's a thread for why you give to education. That's a tool for which to, though, go have a healthier choice.
The thing that we don't do anywhere is free rides.
Right.
We want the kids to have skin in the game, just for us.
Let me tell you a story, James. So we start off, we have the After School Foundation. They come, they exercise, they learn nutrition on a budget, they set goals, et cetera, et cetera. So then all of a sudden we come up with the idea about community service. And the first one's going to be 4:30 a.m. Saturday. Buses are going to pick you up. We're going to be picking up trash on this highway. Or the next one's 4:30 and we're picking up or packing up stuff to send to troops. 100% signed up for it. I was like, I wouldn't have given away my Saturday in high school. But it hit me for the first time. That's what they need. They were like, I didn't want a free ride. I didn't want you just giving to me. I got it. Now I'm engaged. Now they got more dignity. Now their shoulders 100%. Are back further. Now they're walking around with some understanding and countenance of who they are, and now they're having an implant.
Tulane, we have a little connection down there too, and not sports-wise, but just in general. And after that big hurricane down there, the guy who was the president said, if you come to Tulane, you must do public service. And their applications quadrupled when they made that a requirement.
Wow.
Because kids said, good school will get a good education. And I love this idea that they wanted to do public service in New Orleans, which is interesting. That's another thing for Texas in terms of, how about public service in Austin, et cetera, et cetera?
Yes. Well, let me ask you this. What about this idea? And it's not leaning political, but it would be a political thing if it was passed. But the idea I like. Every high school graduate, year of public service before you go to university or wherever you're going to go. And with that, you'll get national benefits to the fronts of lines or whatever. I don't know what those are.
Yeah, sure. Yeah.
It's similar to the Trump thing that Dell just invested in $6 billion into, and invest $2,000 in every newborn American's life now so it can compound. It's a bit of it's what would be what's your thought on that? I mean, I don't know if it would ever pass, but I love the idea. I love
directionally that kind of thing. And then it's like, okay, how can we actually make something that's practical out of it? How do we take that idea? And because if you can't actually make it happen, it's like one of the things we have at Wisconsin that we contribute to, and I really like it because just smart. If you're in the education department there and you go and teach in Wisconsin, the first year we forgive 1/3 of your debt. The second year you teach in Wisconsin, 2/3. The third year you teach in Wisconsin, your debt is forgiven. And what I love about it, it's really good for the kids, it's really good for university, and it's good for the state and the school's relationship with the state. So I love
Right.
stuff like that where you go like that, yeah, that's smart.
That's one of my sort of dream for University of Texas would be that the city of Austin and the University of Texas would lead the country in most amount of students recycled from the university working in the backyard of the
Yeah.
city.
Yep.
And more
You can
city.
help. You can help that happen, though. You're in a position to influence, and that's a kind. I love stuff like that. We have a thing with the University of Florida. Percentage of kids reading at grade level is like 43, 44%. They have a program and get it up into the 80s. Not my program; it's their program, and we've been messing with that. And we have it. We had it, I think, last year in 13 counties in Florida. And Florida last year, they were number one in terms of Black kids reading at grade level, and number one with Latino kids reading at grade. And this year, it's going to be even better. So that notion, I mean, we got the vaccine. We can that, and that's a big problem. Kids reading at grade level, because if you can't read at grade level by the time you get to high school, you're probably not going to make it. You know what I mean?
Yeah. What are the and on that note, you're just pointing out one of the with AI coming as much as it's going to take over or not. What are the necessaries of education? I agree. Reading, is it emotional intelligence, the critical thinking? I've heard a lot of very smart people say, "Oh, in this new day and age with AI coming, and the uncertainty of what's going to be your job vocation and what'll be available." No, liberal arts, be a good communicator. Those people skills are going to be more important. Do you agree with that? Do you have an opinion on that?
I do, and I love I just going back a half step. I love the idea of University of Texas really getting in bed with Austin and making Austin a much better. And all right, that's fine. You do all this stuff. One of the things with the scholarships, one of the things that we do with the kids, I will talk to the president of the university. 10 minutes. I get 10 minutes. All I ask is one: be careful who you put in the program. If you lose a kid, you lose the scholarship. So just pay attention who you're putting in. If there's some emergency, we'll say, okay, fine, the kid's mother got sick or whatever the hell. And the other thing is at the end of the year that the kids send us a couple of pages on what they would do in terms of taking something that happened in school and taking it out into the real world. I love that. I love that note. Last thing that I just to mention, you ever think about writing a novel? I think you could write a great novel if you felt like it. Ken Kesey, like One Flew Over, he wrote another book, which reminds me of you a little bit. Sometimes a Great Notion. They made a not very good movie out of it, but it was a really good book. Sometimes a Great Notion. That's actually a pretty cool title too. Sometimes a Great Notion.
It is a good notion. I think I could write a novel, or I know I could, if I just, again, going back to the person with which to write from.
Yeah.
If I just see, if I in my meter gave myself a fictional name, and because what I do, I play in my mind, I play every character that I'm writing. So if I saw it that way and let myself, here's my thing when I go to fiction though, James, and for instance, I've written a couple animated scripts. Well, then I start to believe in the characters so much and believe, oh, they don't need to be animated. Oh, they don't need spandex and capes. Those are real people. That should be live action. Again, grabbing the dream and bringing it down to nonfiction, to reality. But that might be that'd be a fun view into myself, I guess, to write fictionally or to write as other characters or even create aliases for myself.
Well, it's interesting with Viola, unlike working with President Clinton, et cetera, because we've done a couple of books together. With Viola, she really did get into the characters. In particular, there's one 13-year-old in here, and she really, really, really got into that 13-year-old. Really. And she got into all the characters. But there's a judge in there, who hopefully she would play in the movie or the series, I guess. Hopefully it'll be. At any rate, well, I love this. So I hope
I do too.
it. Yeah.
Could go on for hours with you. I hope to do it again.
Okay.
Hey, you got any advice for a 56-year-old man?
I have no advice. But if you write a novel, I'm reading it. I just don't. Yeah. It's funny with advice. I was Bill Russell with Red Auerbach, He loved red. And when Bill was around 50 or so, he went to Orbeck and he said, you live this life, and other than the smoking and cigars, it's, do you have any advice for me? And Red said, yeah, don't fall down. That was his advice.
You.
That was
Don't
good.
fall down.
Yeah. So,
That's a
like
good
that. One. Yeah, it is good. Practical. All right.
Yeah.
I tell you the other Bill Russell story. This is kind of cool. I did some stuff with Dwayne Wade, just trying to get kids reading and stuff. And so we got to go to 2 of the All-Star games, NBA All-Star games. And we're sitting at one, my wife and I, Sue and I, and this woman comes down. She said, my dad's a big fan of yours. And would you mind just coming back and just meeting him? I said, oh, yeah, sure. When I walked back, it's Bill Russell. And that was, it was so cool. So cool. All right. Cool. Thank you so much.
Thank you, James.
Life can be hard when you don't have the right help. And that's why I'm excited to talk about Rula. I'm a fan of therapy, and it's helped me through some hard times before, especially when somebody very close to me died. When I was looking for a therapist myself, I didn't know where to start. I really didn't. I wish I'd known about Rula, which makes it very easy to find quality mental health care from licensed professionals, covered by insurance. The average session costs about $15, which is pretty cool. And depending on your plan, sometimes even less. You can meet with a therapist as soon as the next day without waiting weeks or jumping through hoops. Rula works with more than 15,000 therapists and psychiatrists nationwide, so you can find someone who really fits your needs. And they don't just connect you once, they stay with you throughout your mental health journey. Thousands have already trusted Rula to support them on their journey toward improved mental health and overall well-being. Head on over to rula.com/Patterson to get started today. After you sign up, they'll ask you where you heard about them. Please support our show and tell them we sent you. Go to rula.com/Patterson and take the first step toward better mental health today. You deserve quality care from someone who cares, and Rula cares. I might not have a dog myself right at this very moment, but I know dogs. I've owned many, many, many dogs. At one point, I had 12 Dobermans. You do anything to keep them healthy and happy, right? That's what I love about Ollie, Ollie. It's made for people who care about their dogs the way I did, the way I still do. They offer fresh protein-packed meals made with real human-grade ingredients, all slow-cooked for top nutrition. It's a kind of food you actually feel good about feeding your dog. What's great is how tailored it all is. Ollie builds a custom meal plan around your dog's needs, so every meal is perfectly portioned and easy to serve. It even comes with a scoop and a pup tainer to keep your fridge from smelling like dog food. We don't want that. And the Ollie app is awesome. It really is. You can check in with real experts about your dog's health. You can track meals and see what new recipes they're developing. It's like having a nutritionist for your pup right in your pocket. If old Bumper was still around, one of my old dogs, I know he'd be going crazy at mealtime, and I'd feel great knowing I was giving him the best. Your dog's well-being starts with their food, and that's why Ollie delivers fresh, human-grade food that your dog will love. Head to ollie.com/Patterson. Tell them all about your dog and use code Patterson to get 60%, that's a lot, off your welcome kit when you subscribe today. Plus, they offer a happiness guarantee on the first box. So if you're not completely satisfied, you'll get your money back. It's not going to happen. You'll get your money back, but you will be satisfied. That's ollie.com/Patterson and enter code Patterson to get 60% off your first box. Thanks for joining me on this episode of Hungry Dogs. Help me out by liking and subscribing to the show. We want to get these interviews out to as many people as we can. You can help a lot. If you like the interviews, your friends will like the interviews, so help. Also, drop me a comment with any ideas you have to make the Hungry Dog interviews better. I'm hungry to hear what you think. I love new ideas. Thank you.